Hi, I'm Teepa Snow, and I'm here in Southwest Washington trying to help make a difference. My job in the world these days, my mission, is to help caregivers, care partners do a better job so that people living with dementia have better quality lives. In order to do that, I'm here working with your team to try to make a difference. These clips, these segments are meant to help you do what you do all so much better. So that the person you care about and you have a better quality life. Okay, so how did I get where I'm at? Well, it's taken years. It took having the experience of helping my grandfather as a kid, my grandmother as a young woman, my mother-in-law, and then finally my mom. But in between times, I've always been curious and interested. I worked in head injury, I worked with people who had developmental disabilities when I was a teenager, and all together, I've always sort of wanted to know, why do people do what they do and why don't they do some things that would seem to make more sense? And so over the course of time, I've had these wonderful opportunities to be part of an interdisciplinary team, to work at UNC School of Medicine, to be with physicians, with nurses, with social workers, with people who are living with dementia from beginning to end, with people with mental health issues, people who have all kinds of things going on. Worked at the VA. And over the course of time, I've learned more and more about how what we do impacts what they do. And by being willing to change and be different, I can get a totally different outcome. And after I did that, then I want to go back and figure out why? And so being curious has its pluses, because when you're really curious, you continue to learn and grow. And I worked for the Alzheimer's Association. And so rather than just accepting things as they are, I want to know why and why not, and what can we do about that? And see the person, whoever I'm working with, as doing the best they can. So let's figure out how we can get it to be the way we want it to be, if possible, by taking that, not trying to change it, but modifying input to get a different output. So what do caregivers need and want, and what do they ask the most often? Well, interestingly, one of the things they'll bring up is, well, I think my mom might have dementia, but I don't think it's Alzheimer's, or at least it's just Alzheimer's, not dementia, or I'm not sure there's really something wrong. So one of the things they're curious about is, what is this thing? Dementia, Alzheimer's, it is, it isn't. They really struggle with the titles, the names, the definitions. And it's interesting that they totally miss, it's not so much what the title or name of it is, it's what's happening and how is it changing our relationship. And unfortunately, they also want to know how long. How long? And I think they want to know how long because it's such an uncomfortable place for them to be, that they're thinking if they know how long they have to endure this, how long this is going to last, they can plan out their energy stores and their relationship over that time. And instead of going, well, however long it lasts, let's look at what's going on right now and how can we make what's going on right now more palatable, more doable. And it's interesting, the question they ask is not the question they really need to be asking. What kind of support do I need to get through this? If it's going to take a while, what kind of things should I be thinking about ahead of time and planning out? Rarely do they think that. It's sort of like, well, how can I get her to not do this? Or how can I get her to stop doing that? Or how can I get her to, I want her to do this, why won't she do this? And so it's more of a, how can I make them be or do what I want? And so they have an agenda. And what I really have to help them see is, you can have your agenda, but it's about the relationship. So once you can get the relationship to improve, then we can figure out the agenda. And often you're not going to get what you want. And what you really need to learn how to do is weigh it. Is it critical? Is it not critical? Is it sort of important but not really important? If it's really important, then let's figure it out. If it's not really important, let's let it go. So what? It's a so what phenomenon. And I wish they would ask that, but that's not what they ask. So for people who are new to this and you're just sort of learning that you're going to be doing it, one of the first things to do is to look in the mirror and say, okay, what do I know? What don't I know? What am I good at? What am I not good at it? What am I going to need? And if I'm not good at those things, who and where could I go to get it? So before you move forward, to sort of take stock, what's working, what's not working right now, and what is this thing called dementia? And what do I know about it? So it's really, before you try to do anything, looking in the mirror and realizing, okay, well, I'm not prepared for this. How do I get prepared? And the first person to prepare is yourself. And part of the preparing yourself is knowing about you. How do you like to learn? What do you like to learn? What don't you like to learn? Who do you work well with? Who don't you work well with? What are the pieces of the puzzle you're going to need to put together here? Are you going to need financial advice and support? Are you going to need planning ahead for life decisions? Are you good at healthcare or not? Do you like hands-on care or do you not? Are you good at verbal interactions or do you struggle with that? So really figuring out, first of all, what you're good at and then what is needed. And if you're not good at it, where are you going to get it? So learning what's out there before you're in crisis. And one of the hardest things to do is to recognize you're in shock. You had no idea this was going to be what you're taking on. This wasn't what you were hoping for or thinking about. You thought the doctor was going to say, no, 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 it's just aging and we'll give them, this is depression, we'll treat it. And now you've just heard news that you weren't necessarily anticipating, or you heard what you most feared was true. And you need to take a second and work on your own health and well-being for just a second. You need to take a deep breath. And cry and grieve the loss of what was, which is what you thought you were going to have. And now, and only now, can you move forward, is allowing yourself to grieve what is no longer possible and realize you're on a different journey than you thought. And grief doesn't get over in a moment. And you're going to have denial and anger and bargaining and then sadness and then acceptance. And until you get to acceptance, you can't really be effective as a caregiver. But be aware that you're going to go through this over and over and over again because it's a progressive illness.